I used to think manifestation was really stupid until I heard about this one study. In this study, there were two groups of people who considered themselves lucky and people who considered themselves unlucky. They had a simple task. They had to go through a newspaper and count the number of photographs in it. Lucky people tended to finish in just seconds, whereas unlucky people tended to finish in over 2 minutes. The reason for this was on the second page of the newspaper, there's a big bold message that took up half the page that said stop counting, there are 43 photographs within the newspaper. Lucky people tended to trust this message and report it, whereas unlucky people did not and thus took much longer. Now, you might be saying, well, lucky people, maybe they just didn't trust the message and they wanted to verify and make sure that there were really 43 photographs within the newspaper. And that would be valid, except there was a second huge message in the newspaper that said stop counting, tell a researcher you saw this message, and you will receive a monetary prize of $250. Can you guess which of the groups tended to report this message more often as well? There is absolutely no harm in reporting the $250 reward, even if they did want to count all of the photographs within the newspaper. The study perfectly highlights how attitude alone is what changed the outcomes of lucky versus unlucky people. Both had the exact same opportunities staring them in the face, but only one group chose to act on them because of their much better attitude. Now, there's a lot more research that we have to go over in order to fully justify manifestation, but this lays kind of the groundwork for why manifestation actually works for a lot of people. It's because positive attitude is incredibly important in determining how successful we will be in life. But stick around until the end of the video because most people do manifestation wrong. And in this video, I wanted to talk about how you can correctly go about doing manifestation so that it actually works and gives you results. Now, let's dive a little bit deeper into the study because this study alone is not really enough to make a solid case for why manifestation works or why having a positive attitude boosts success. The first thing that we have to look at is maybe lucky people were just more intelligent or had higher IQs or something like that on average. The researchers looked at this and it found that both groups had very identical levels of intelligence. The second thing to look at is that maybe lucky people just generally were more lucky and actually did tend to just have the universe on their side. The thing is, when lucky versus unlucky people participated in things like lotteries, they both tended to have the exact same outcomes regardless of what they felt they might achieve. So we can see there's no magical luck actually being assigned to them by the universe. We can see there's no differences in intelligence. So the last thing that we really have to look at is correlation versus causation, because this study is very correlational. Luckily, the researchers who were behind the study came up with this thing called the luck school, in which unlucky people could go through it and they could come out on the other end being quote unquote luckier. And it was found that this was incredibly successful. The luck school did reliably tend to increase people's luck, and they found that, I quote, 80% of people were now happier, more satisfied with their lives, and perhaps most important of all, luckier. So again, this clearly outlines there's a lot of solid support for the idea that a good positive attitude does result in better outcomes and better success, which is why manifestation, which focuses primarily on increasing your positive attitude and your belief in the fact that you will succeed, actually can be incredibly helpful. And there's other research supporting this as well. One of my favorite studies supporting this was a study that looked at math performance in students. It found that, I quote, based on our data, the unique contribution of positive attitude to math achievement is as large as the contribution from IQ. Again, we can see positive attitude leads to better performance and more success. There's also books like the book Thanks, which talks about research on gratitude, which also finds that when people practice gratitude, they generally tend to be a lot more happy. And the thing is, when we're a lot more happy, as this article talks about, we tend to be a lot more successful as well. So all of this sounds great, but the thing is, when most people do manifestation, they tend to do it incredibly incorrectly. So what do people get wrong about manifestation? The biggest problem with manifestation is people think that if they just say positive phrases to themselves that are not really in line with where their real life is, that they'll tend to feel better and become more successful. But there's lots of research that shows that when we do things like positive affirmations that don't actually align with our real world reality, they actually tend to make us feel worse and not really do anything that is that good for us. People who have already low self-esteem, performing these kinds of manifestation chants where we're just being overly positive and ignoring the bleak realities of our situations, if they are typically bleak, can be more detrimental than actually positive. So how do we do manifestation correctly? We should not just be completely in denial about our situation. If we're not a millionaire, we shouldn't tell ourselves, I am a millionaire, I will be like a millionaire. That isn't going to actually help us. But what will help us is having a positive attitude that we can make the changes we need in order to get to the point where we want to get to. What this might look like in practice is, let's say there's a really competitive, difficult job you want to get that's in a completely different market than what you're currently in. And you might be thinking, I can never get this job because I don't have any of the skills required to get it, and so I'm going to give up on my dream. That's a horrible way to go about it. But the thing is, being overly positive and thinking, I can get this job, it is mine, I am already there, that's going to do nothing. A good middle ground between both of these extremes is to say, I can't get the job with the skills I have right now, now, but I can certainly grow and learn these skills, and I'm more than capable of doing that. That is where the concept of manifestation starts to work. It's in believing the things that we can actually do and not limiting our potential by excessively negative beliefs. Having this kind of positive attitude is what actually helps people get out of these lower spots. As is talked about in the serendipity mindset, a lot of our success comes from random chance encounters. And when you have a positive attitude, you're more open to having new experiences, to going to new places, to attending events, to meeting new people, so on and so forth. Whereas if you have a negative attitude, you'll be a lot more closed off to new opportunities where you can make new connections. You can maybe find someone who ends up investing in your business by going to some random networking event, or you might just make a lifelong friend by going to the gym and striking up a conversation. But the thing is, if you have a negative attitude, you're not going to be open to these kinds of spontaneous things. And this is where using manifestation or helping yourself have a more positive attitude and assuming that things will probably work out can make it so you're more open to a more wider range of opportunities, thus making yourself more likely to run into events that will increase your luck or the chances of good things happening to you. The thing with a positive attitude as well is it also buffers us against negative events happening in our lives. What this might look like is, let's say we have a positive person and a negative person, and they go into something like dating. Now, both of these people can try their hand at dating, but the biggest thing that happens is that when a negative person maybe encounters a failure, right, in their dating life because maybe they haven't dated in a while or something like that, and the first time they try and ask someone out or go on a date, it goes poorly. The positive person is just going to see this as, oh, this is just something that happens. This happens to everyone, and that's okay. It sucks, but I'm going to try and move on and learn what I can. Whereas a negative person, after one rejection, one failure, is going to feel like, oh no, I'm going to be alone forever. Nothing's ever going to work out. And this negativity drags them down and stops them from moving forward and making the progress that quote unquote lucky people or positive people will make. In success, a positive attitude can really help because it'll help you go faster and faster. And in failure, a positive attitude is even more important because it'll help you go forward where other people will give up, which is where you will get the success that you want and that you deserve. So what are some practical ways that we can improve our positive attitude and use the powers of manifestation in a positive way? So the two most kind of practical, easy ways that you can get started with this is write down 3 times that you're lucky every single day. At the end of the day, I have a journal prompt where I'll just go in and I'll write down 3 small things that I was lucky about. Maybe I caught a green light that helped me get to work on time. Maybe I thought I was going to be late to a meeting, but then it got pushed back 30 minutes right in the nick of time. And another big thing you can do is write down 3 things that you're grateful for each day. So 3 small positive things that you really enjoy. Again, the book Thanks talks about why this is so effective, but when we kind of turn our attention to things that are positive within our lives, we tend to feel a lot happier. The book Wrapped as well talks about this, where a woman who was diagnosed with terminal cancer ended up becoming 10 times happier because she decided to only focus on the positive things in her life and no longer focus on the large looming negative things such as her terminally ill disease. She found the most happiness she had ever had in her life because she was focused on the positives as much as she could rather than focusing on the uncontrollable negatives. And the third thing that you can do, as is talked about in serendipity mindset, is just try and go out of your way to do things that you don't really want to do or that you think will go poorly. So examples of this are like networking events or going out with new friends that you don't really know that well, going out to a bar alone just to see what happens. Whenever any kind of opportunity presents itself and you feel this kind of fear bubbling up inside where you're like, I don't know if I should do this, just say yes anyway and just see how it goes. I started doing this and it's amazing how much farther my life has gone along. I've made so many more friends, my career opportunities are a lot better, and in general, I find that 90% of the time I think that something isn't going to go well. When I go and do it, I'm actually really happy that I ended up doing that thing. And when we experience this, when we actually experience the fact that, okay, I thought this was going to go bad, but it actually didn't, this is what will help change our mind the most and help us have a much more positive state of mind that'll be beneficial for us. So that's all for this video. I hope that this helps. Comment down below what you think about manifestation. If you think it does work, if you think a positive attitude is important, I'd love to have some cool discussion down in the comments below. If you want to see me dive into this research a little bit more, here's a video I did on the same exact studies about luck if you want to learn a little bit more about what I'm talking about. Hope this video helps. Thank you for watching and take care.